Come on, pen. Why are you doing that to me? Why is this pen skipping on me all of a sudden? I think this is one that I was using carbon ink in. I may not have cleaned it out. I'm not a fan of this carbon ink that is supposed to be waterproof, which is waterproof, which is why I'm having a difficult time with it. Let me just go back to a pen that didn't have any of that ink in it. There we go, much nicer. These days, almost all the artwork that I make is for reproduction, so it doesn't have to be waterproof, it doesn't have to be light-proof. It could fade, into nothingness a few minutes after I draw it, because I scan it in and it's being used to be printed or turned into an engraving or something, so I don't need to worry about an original lasting forever. Some people do want to make originals that last forever, and that's fine, but and these will last perfectly. These will last for years and years and years and years and years. I've got drawings I've done with this ink and these pens on this paper that are still perfectly fine, but these days, though, most of what I do is meant to be scanned in and used for print work, so I really don't need them to be as permanent as I once upon a time in the way distant past did. I'm drawing very weirdly today. I'm drawing more angularly, with more angles, more sharp. I must be in a sharp mood, not my usual flowy self. This is skipping. Why? This paper is weird. I'm blaming the paper. But this paper, I wasn't having problems with this paper, with these pens. The paper is all very, there's way more factors involved than just a pen. There's the ink and there's the paper. There's the speed at which you draw, pressure that you use, and this exact same pen with the exact same ink and the exact same paper might work perfectly well for someone else, but because I draw quickly, maybe it's a problem for me. But normally it isn't a problem. So this paper is this paper I was just showing you. This is just shittier paper, but it looks better than this stuff. I have so much paper in my house, and many of the paper I have I bought from printers that were going out of business or moving, and I might buy 3 boxes of this paper and 20 boxes of that paper and 20 sheets of this paper or whatever, and so I don't really know what some of where this paper came from, or even what country it was made in, or what company made it. So I can't be more specific in some cases in terms of what I draw on, what I draw with, and the ink I draw. I can certainly tell you. This is a Schaefer pen, and I'm using Waterman ink. But this paper is an unknown quantity. Well, the quantity I know. It's one piece of paper, but unknown factor. I don't know what this paper is. Sometimes even the weather, if it's a really humid day, sometimes the humidity in the air is in the paper, and it causes the ink to bleed a little bit more than it would if it was a drier day. And that's a factor that some people might have to deal with, especially if you live in a very humid area of the world. God, this pen is nice. Recently read a comment that someone was saying that someone was pressing down on their pen and ruining it. And yes, you can press down on a pen and ruin it if it's a pen that isn't supposed to be pressed down and ruined. But a pen that is made like this one to be flexible, I'm not harming the pen at all by doing this kind of drawing or writing. It's meant to do that. It was designed to do this. Frank Dubiel, who used to sell me a lot of pens years and years and years ago, would always tell me that I'm not supposed to press down that hard. Well, no, I can press down this hard. It's meant to do that. See, it's as flexible right on the nib. I'd like to learn how to be a cartoonist. There's some very talented cartoonist in my building, and I should take lessons from him. His name is Tim Fish. You can look him up online. He, like many cartoonists, have a vocabulary that they use to make figures, faces look the way they do, and there's a little bit of, or a lot of bit, maybe, of exaggeration. You know, mouths are bigger, eyes tend to be a little bit bigger, maybe the nose is a little smaller. But it's a way of capturing the emotions and the character of a face that maybe drawing realistically you have a harder time doing. I have a feeling though that I might get bored drawing the same kind of exaggerations. I think I wouldn't have the consistency that a reader might like if they were reading a comic book that I made a story. They'd say, well, who's talking here? This isn't the person who was talking on the page before, because it doesn't look anything like the person on the page before. So that's the thing about cartoonists that do their job very well, and I don't know whether I could do it well, because when I'm making a caricature, you know, if you think of anyone whose face has been drawn by a caricature artist, they exaggerate the things that are obvious. You know, if you have a really big chin, they'll make the chin really big. You know, your mouth is going to be here and you have this huge chin. Or if, you know, they have a bald head, you make the head, you know, really bald, and you show the little reflections of the windows, you make it shiny and bald, not just bald. If you have you have big eyes, you make big eyes. If you have smaller eyes, you make beady little eyes. But the thing is, you can exaggerate any part of a face. You don't have to always pick the same thing. But I think when you're doing comics, you do pick the same thing. You say, okay, I'm making his eyes big. So his eyes are big all the time. They're bigger than their, and then someone has a little tiny mouth and you make their mouth small throughout the entire life of the creature. And, I could, if I was doing a realistic story where I was drawing real people, I would, their mouth would be small. If they have a real small mouth, their mouth would be small all the time. But because of the exaggeration and the caricatureness of it, I don't know whether I would be consistent. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know whether I would have that in me. Oh, I don't know. What am I talking about? I'm just babbling. Let's come back to this pen, the one that had that other ink in it. See, it's clogged. That ink is bad. B-A-D. Bad ink. I think it got in the tines of the nib as well. So if you are using this carbon ink, look at my carbon ink review that I just put up and how best you could use that ink. I don't think it would ever make me happy because it doesn't flow fast enough. But I draw fast. If you draw slower, it might be perfectly fine. You still have to clean the pen after each time you do it, though. That's the trouble. See you later.